Starting with the first one. Most everybody got the first one right. Thank goodness. You know, that was kind of saving grace there. It's like, okay, yay, I need to know how to do that one. So let's see. If we go through that derivative, hopefully we all got it, right? It's going to say y prime equals what? 15x squared, right? No biggie there, right? Y'all can do that one. And most everybody had that one correct. Okay, let's see. Let's move on. And I'm still trying to learn this pad. There we go. Okay. Now let's look at number 2. And of course, it sounds like a pack of Indians up there. Let's look at number 2. Bless you. What rule do I need here? You need the product rule, right? So it might be useful for us to write product rule up here to help us remember, because some of us didn't remember, and that's okay. This is all new for us. But again, that is the product rule. How do I know it's the product rule? It's two things being multiplied together, right? Side by side implies multiplication. So let's see. That means f prime is going to be the first, so negative 4x to the fourth plus x. There's the first. Times the derivative of the second. What's derivative of the second? 2. Is that okay? Plus second times the derivative of the first. Now, what's the derivative of the first? Plus what? 1. And that's where some people missed it. Okay, because again, a lot of you just wrote the derivative of that, which was negative 16x cubed, and you closed your parentheses, right? But there's still more stuff here to derivatize. What's the derivative of x? 1, so it should say plus 1 inside the parentheses. That's where most people missed it. So y'all look at your answers. If you missed it, that's where you missed it. Now, if your paper's not marked, that just means that was a paper I stopped. So you do need to check your answers there, because it doesn't imply you got it right. Okay? It's no implication of that. I just was like, no, we're not going to record these. All right, questions about it? Okay. Y'all see if you can find maybe what you missed on number 3. See if you can figure out what was missed there. Okay, did y'all find what you missed? Maybe. So let's see, f of x, I would rewrite this first. And what exponent, some of you put 1/2 here. Is the exponent going to be 1/2? It's 1/4. That's one place that I saw just glancing through, and as soon as I saw that, I stopped grading, because is there any way you can get that right if you miswrote it? Nope, not a bit, is there? So let's keep going. F prime at x, and this is chain rule, right? This is just straight up chain rule. So we're going to do 1/4 times 3x minus 2 raised to what power? What's 1/4? Remember, you say minus 1. Negative 3/4, right? Groovy? Some of you stop there. What are we missing? Times derivative of the inside, because chain rule, you deal with the power rule first, and then you derivatize the inside, right? So what's the derivative of 3x minus 2? 3. Okay, now this has the only case where you need to simplify, and that's a negative exponent. Now, I've seen several variations here, and I don't care which one you write. You could do 1/4 times 3. Here's one variation. Over 3x minus 2. to the positive 3/4. You can leave your answer like that. Or if that is like, oh, that's just too much, I'm not sure about that, I don't like that, well, then you could go back and say, well, you could have written this f prime equals, you could have done 3/4 times 3x minus 2 to the 3/4. Certainly can do that, and a lot of people will do that way, which is fine, don't care. Okay, several variations. You could have left 3/4 in the numerator. You could have written this here as 3/4. You certainly can do that. Okay, but the only thing that you really need to focus on simplifying would be that negative exponent. That's the only thing we really go look for. Yes?
Which version would be on
the test? You could see any of it. And chances are, if they just leave it, it's going to be within the first 5 questions on the AP exam. And they could leave it. Chances are they're probably going to do this for a multiple choice answer. They won't simplify it anymore. But that might be in the first 5. And so I really wouldn't focus too much on that because you all in here can match up those two. You all will realize that. What we will eventually do, and where you'll see it more, is you're going to be asked to find f prime of, let's say, f prime of 1. So that just means you're going to plug that 1 into the derivative and finish solving. So that's where we're going to be using it more. That's why I'm like, don't simplify, because we'll be plugging in a number and then it works itself out much better than trying to simplify the algebra. Okay? Any other questions? Any others? Okay, let's keep going. And again, on number 4, what do you need to write on number 4? Or what rule? That's going to be the what? Quotient rule, isn't it? How do I know that's quotient rule? It's dividing. It's a fraction, right? This is the quotient rule. Isn't that pretty, braces here? That's your quotient rule. Okay, y'all go and work this out because very few people, if any, got it. And if you did get it, you probably don't remember how you got it, so do it again. You certainly can flip the denominator over and raise all of that to the -1, and you can use your product rule with the chain rule. You can do either one. Okay.
When you flip the 4x squared, I thought you made the squared negative.
You make all of that because the 4, in order to flip 4 over, that also needs to be negative. So if you flip it over, let me rewrite it. You got x cubed minus 2x plus 8. And if you're going to flip all that over and use the product rule and chain rule, all of that's going to have to be raised to the -1 because all of it has to flip over. Either way you want to do it is up to you. Either way. And which way do y'all want me to do this? Do you want to see the quotient rule or do you want to see the second way? Both? All right. And y'all sure it won't confuse you seeing both? All right. Then I will do both. Let's do, just cover up your eyes whenever I start one that you don't like, okay? All right. I'm going to start with the product rule and chain rule one, okay? So if we do that one, then we're going to say y prime. It's going to be the first, which is going to be x cubed minus 2x plus 8. Oh dear, my bar disappeared. Do what?
She said 2 slants and 2x.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry.
The whole thing and only one of the x's win.
Yeah, I had to go back. Anyway, so first, wow, first times the derivative of the second. Now, the derivative of the second, right here, you're going to have to do the chain rule. So the derivative of the second, and I'm going to do brackets because there's going to be a little bit in there. You're going to have -1 times 4x squared raised to the -2 times the derivative of the inside, which is what? 8x. Okay, y'all look at that. Questions about it? First times derivative of the second, and then we're going to have plus the second times the derivative of the first. So let's see. Second is going to be 4x squared raised to the negative 1 times the derivative of the first. Well, what's the derivative of the first? It's going to be 3x squared, isn't it? Minus 2. Is that right? Is that okay? Now we do have to go back now and address all of those negative exponents. So if we do that, then let's see, what are we going to get here? We're going to have y prime equals, and let's see, what stays on top? We have x cubed minus 2x plus 8. That stays on top. What else is on top? Negative 8, negative 8x, isn't it? Okay, and that term is all over 4x squared raised to the positive second now. Plus, and then over here we've got 3x squared minus 2 all over 4x squared. And I can drop that 1 since it'll all be raised to the positive 1. Okay, that's one way to do it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if you would leave that negative 1.
That's fine.
Okay, but
Yeah.
wouldn't it just make the whole problem? Oh, okay, never mind. Okay.
Okay, good.
So, yeah.
All right, any other questions? Please ask. Okay, do y'all want to see the quotient rule way? All right, quotient rule way for this one, I think it's a little bit easier, isn't it? So let's see, we have, and I'm just going to draw a line here, y prime equals, and it's going to be the bottom, so 4x squared times the derivative of the top, which is what? 3x squared minus 2. So there's bottom times the derivative of the top, right? Minus top, which is what? X cubed minus 2x plus 8 times the derivative of the bottom. What's the derivative of the bottom? 8x. All over what? 4x squared, all squared, right? So that one, it was a little easier to do quotient rule. Doesn't matter which way you choose to do this. No, I don't care which way you choose. And if you were to plug in a 1 or a 0 or a negative 1, whatever you're asked to evaluate this derivative at, you're going to get the same answer from both versions. It doesn't matter. And that's why I keep saying it really will not matter which way you do this. Okay, questions? Questions? All right, see if you can work on number 5. So the first thing we have to do with number 5 is we're going to have to rewrite this because this is really a shorthand version of how to write that exponent. This was originally f of x equals, in parentheses, cosine of x plus 1. All of that's raised to the third power. So we've got chain rule. And y'all can't see that, can you? So let's see what we're going to end up with this. Okay. So what's the first thing? What are y'all going to end up first?
Move the 3 and multiply.
Subtract the 1.
There you go. So you're going to have 3 times cosine of x plus 1, all raised to the second. That's your chain rule. You've got to address that power rule first, right? And then that's going to be times, and let's see, what else are we going to have multiplied there? Let's see, that's that. And then we've got to derivatize the inside, don't we? So times, what's the derivative of cosine? Negative sine. The derivative of anything that starts with a C is always negative. Right? Is that okay? Yeah. And then times the derivative of the actual angle. What's the derivative of x plus 1? 1. Bam. Do I simplify? Well, do I have any negative exponents? No. And then from there, they'll ask you to plug in pi, or maybe pi over 2, maybe a 0, and you would just leave it after you plug in. Wouldn't do anything else to it. Okay?
Okay.
All right. And this was in your notes, right? What problem did y'all decide? Number 6 or 7?
7.
Number 7 in notes. That way it's there to remind you, not me being a smart aleck, by no means. I'm not doing that. This is how I would take notes on this. Be like, okay, I need another example of this. This was in my notes, number 7. All right, y'all try number 6. Try 6. Is there a need to rewrite this? No. So y prime equals, oh, I'm taking the derivative, something starting with a c, so I know the answer has to be negative, right? Derivative of cosecant is cosecant, isn't it? Of the angle times the other c, which is cotangent, isn't it? Of 5x. And then times what? Times what?
The derivative.
Right, times 5, the derivative of 5x, which is just 5. And that's all for that one.
Okay, didn't you teach us a way to remember what line is?
You have sine, cosine, negative cosine. Because those are the most used derivatives. And so whenever you do that and you're doing the derivative, so then you're going to go through and say, well, the derivative of sine is cosine. Derivative of cosine is negative sine. Derivative of negative sine, negative cosine. What's the derivative of negative cosine? Positive sine. And it always goes that way, every time. And then later on, after Christmas, we'll learn integration, and integration would just be going the other direction. Derivative moves down this chain. Integration will move up. So if I integrate sine, it's going to be negative cosine. So just kind of
Remember cosecant.
cosecant, you memorize it. Or that's what I do. Now, if y'all come across a trick that helps, please share with the class. My teachers just said memorize it, and they didn't even show me this. This is just something we came upon. So just help. Anything y'all find that'll help you remember those. Now, I wouldn't get so stressed out over them because, again, the most used would be sine, cosine, and tangent. And the derivative of tangent is what? Y'all look at secant squared, isn't it? Right? So y'all just keep in mind those are the main ones that are used. Every now and then this will pop up, but not a tremendous amount. All right. Y'all try these 3. Give y'all. All right. I'm going to work through 7. F prime. Good gosh, that is huge. Equals. Well, let's see. We're going to have, what's the derivative of sine? Cosine of x times the derivative of x. Well, what's the derivative of x? Just 1, isn't it? Plus derivative of tangent of the angle is going to be what? Secant squared of the angle times the derivative of the angle, which is 3. Did y'all get that one right? Yay, awesome. Okay, moving on then to number 8. What rule do you need to use for number 8? Chain rule. And what else? Product rule. All right, so I'm going to box that in so I don't run into them. All right, so y prime equals, and let's see, the first, so x squared plus 3x minus 1 cubed times the derivative of the second. Well, what's the derivative of sine of x squared? It's going to be cosine x squared times what? 2x. Okay, did y'all get that? So first times the derivative of the second plus the second, so that's going to be sine x squared times the derivative of the first. Now this is where you're going to need some chain rule, aren't you? Did I need chain rule when I derivatized sine x squared? No. Where would that 2 have to be if I needed the chain rule for that? On the outside of the parentheses, but it's probably going to be written where? On the sign, isn't it? So you have to be careful with that. All right, with this one, it's going to be 3 times x squared plus 3x minus 1, all raised to the second, times the derivative of the inside. What's the derivative of the inside going to be? 2x plus 3, isn't it? Do I need to rearrange, move, or do anything to that? No. There'll be nothing to do with that one. Questions? Okay, I'm going to move number 9 down here. And now for number 9, we do need some rewriting. So let's see, it looks like we're going to have to make 5x minus 2 all raised to the 1/2. Now, did y'all move x plus 5 up to the top or leave it in the bottom? Leave it in the bottom? Okay, I can do it both ways. It'll be okay. If we leave it in the bottom, let's see. F prime then would be what? Let's see. We're going to get, I don't know why that's not writing. We have the bottom times the derivative of the top, which is going to be 1/2 times 5x minus 2 raised to the what? Negative 1/2 times the derivative of the inside, which is what? 5. Okay, so first bottom times the derivative of the top minus the top times the derivative of the bottom. What's the derivative of the bottom? It's just 1, isn't it? So times 1 all over what? X plus 5 all squared. Now we do need to simplify this portion right here. Now the problem is we can't just flip that to be down here. That's not going to work for us. So what we can do is make all of that, this first part, we're going to have to rewrite that. But we're going to make this as a fraction. Just make that part as a fraction minus all this other gobbledygook. Do y'all see what I mean? All right,